Hello, and welcome to this very special session, this very special interview with my dear friend, Burju Perez. Burju is the founder of Burju Shoes, is the global leader on dance heels. And the reason I invited her today is because I found so many people, so many of my clients, so many people in my community dream of having a business that's full of freedom and purpose. And when they were asking me questions about this, Burju came up to my mind as a shining example of having achieved that. So without further ado, I'll bring Burju to the stage.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, all over the world.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. How are you? Hope the community is doing amazing.
Yes. My Vision Path folks, the people in my Vision program have submitted questions for you. They were very keen about this interview, so we'll go through them as well. And the people who are joining us live, feel free to drop questions in the comment, and we're happy to take live questions too. I have a question. I'll start to begin. And that was about location freedom. We moved to Costa Rica the same week. And in my mind, in order to have location freedom, to be able to say, I'll move to paradise now, I thought you could only have a digital product, like I have a digital product or have a service. I never knew it would be possible to have a physical product like heels and dance shoes and be able to have location independence. So that's my first question. How did you do that? How does it work?
So interestingly enough, just a small backstory. We started this business at the same time that we had a professional Latin dance career. So we were already touring the world a bit. And we're like gone Thursday through Monday and then came home to catch up. And I think the one thing, the start of the business was we were literally in our basement. We had our inventory in our basement in our garage, and we would pack orders the 2 days we were home and then go back off on another journey and then come back. Fast forward to kind of stopping that lifestyle. I think we were always very focused, talk about vision, right? We were always focused about how do we make this business something we can do from anywhere. I have family, I'm Turkish. My husband has family in Puerto Rico. We just love the idea of being free from a location, and also just the limitations of your physical space, right? Like, so how if I scale my business, how do I keep fulfilling orders out of a basement and a garage realistically? So you just get into education mode and you start learning. You learn about 3PLs, which is like people that will do the logistical aspects of it for you. And then it became about, okay, well, that's more expensive, so how do we find the economies of scale so that we can have someone else ship our product for us from a warehouse and we don't have to touch it, but also still have profit in the business? So it was in phases, little by little, a learning process. There was a lot of failures. We've tried 1, 3, but it didn't work out. And then we finally landed on one, but we eventually landed on something, and it became a hands-free product. It almost feels like a digital product because I'm like, yeah, I don't even see the shoes necessarily anymore. And when we were able to do that successfully for a couple of years, we were like, okay, so we can go anywhere now, like we wanted.
Nice. So I love you saying because you own the design, you own the brand, you own the marketing, but you didn't have, you outsourced the production and the fulfillment. That's how it
Right.
works.
So I don't own my factories. I contracted, and
Yeah.
this is going to become important in our theme. There's a lot of contracting of people, of services, and things like that. So I've contracted with factories that wanted to produce my specific product, right?
Yeah.
So they're, globally, I have 2 in Asia, I have 1 in Turkey. So they're producing there. The other thing we wanted to solve a problem with was, why do we have to have necessarily a physical space? Because as your business grows, you'll realize inventory is it's a struggle for all of us that have a physical product. You never have enough of certain ones. You have too few of other ones, right? So we always were like, well, how do we create an on-demand or a made-to-order? Because for us, we have things where you can customize heels, colors, accessories and things like that. You can't inventory it all and have it all available at all times, and you don't want missed opportunities. So we also stay very focused about the drop shipping, like how do people do drop shipping straight from their factories, right? So that's the production piece, and then we do have some inventory, which is the warehousing piece. It's all still ours. It's all still our product. It's not like these things that other people own and you white label. It's our designs, everything's still ours. We just found a way through drop shipping and a third party logistics company to handle the actual fulfillment, and you get the best of both worlds. So it's still all yours, 100%.
Nice. I have a question from our audience on this specific for the warehouse. So I'll take it now.
Okay.
It
Great.
is from Enzer. At how many orders were you able to sign up with a warehouse? I believe they have a minimum number of orders they will agree to fulfill a month. So do you need a certain scale before you're able to do that?
Yes, I believe my warehouse, there's smaller 3PLs and there's bigger 3PLs. So there's more out there, I think, than we can imagine. Same with even manufacturers. A lot of times you hear of MOQ, like minimum order quantities. And when I started my business, it was not like I could order 10,000 of one style, right? I was like, I'm just like little dancer person here and wanted to do a little designing, have a little itch, inspiration. So it was just sourcing the right people that are willing to kind of trust you to grow with you. So it's about developing partnerships, right? So they're out there. And I think the world is definitely shifting from this mass production, mass consumption mindset. And it's becoming a little bit more a la carte, if you will. So when we finally had the 3PL, we were definitely doing, I would say, about 40, 50 orders a day. So pairs of shoes, whatever. So I don't know what their particular minimums were, but we definitely met them at the time. So there might be a phase of like, well, I still got to do this out of my garage and my basement for a while. And I'll focus on marketing channels so I can scale my business. I get it out there to more people. And then when I cross that threshold, but you just got to have conversations. The amount of people from marketing partners to things that are like, oh, we only work with people that have X amount of revenue. Okay, great. You're not for us. And this is an example we can talk about. We started like in the last year or 2 years it's been now, we wanted to have a full circle product, right? So when people were done with the shoes, we wanted to offer an opportunity for them to resell it, right? Secondhand. Yeah. And there was a company that we wanted to work with so badly. They were doing it for really big brands, and we just didn't have the volume they were looking for. They're like, no, we're looking for like 10 million annual. And I was like, we're not there yet. So we just kept searching, and then we found a partner that was able to take us on, and they ended up being a dream partner. So it's just like, you have to be willing to, you're going to get no's before you get the yes, but stay with it. There's going to be someone that like is going to appreciate your vision and what you're doing and want to partner with you, and may be willing to wait for you to go through your growing pains to get to the levels if they see potential in a long-term partnership, right? So that's kind of been our approach, but we got a lot of doors closed in our face before we found the right ones to pass through.
Yeah. And I've seen you, we were discussing about you choosing partners, you support them to grow as well. You were talking about your factory in Turkey, and I remember you saying, I want to support them to grow their capacity. Like sometimes you choose the partners you support each other. Let's grow together, which is, it just needs to find the right partners, right?
Exactly. And it took a shift in like thinking about it, right? So when you think, okay, I'm going to design a product and I want to produce it. Okay. I need a factory, right? Like I need a factory. And sometimes factories, this term talks large scale production, right? They want to be able to use machinery to cut big amounts of stuff, right? Then I was like, okay, so then I realized that what I was looking for was not a factory, but more of an atelier. So all our shoes are actually handmade. So that actually gives us the flexibility to do things more customized. And yes, it's a little bit slower and a little bit more costly, but we also own that. We own that as we create a quality, customized, made to order product that's sustainable, that's ethical, where people are well paid. And I think there's so much value in that when you own it. Like I was never interested in becoming a part of fast fashion. I don't want people to overconsume my product. I'm looking for the audience that wants to buy one pair a year or 3 and come back because it was such a high quality product, and they do it because they're actually using it and not being wasteful. So I didn't want to sell $20 shoes. Like, you can find that as well. So we're at a price point that's fair because we pay equitably, we use high quality materials, we build up our processes to be as sustainable as possible. And all of that does cost money, and that's reflected in our price. So we're not the cheapest. And it's crazy because every time like I do a video on TikTok and it goes semi-viral, they're like, yeah, but it's so expensive. And I'm like, that's valid. You also understand that you're buying something that's utility. Like when you're into soccer, you buy cleats. They're not as cheap as like some $5 sneakers you can buy in the mall, like for your kids, right? Or ballet shoes. They're built a certain way for endurance and quality, and that's what you're paying for. And if it's not for you, it's okay. That's why we have secondhand where you can get deals. So we provide other avenues. We don't compromise our price point. We just provide other ways for people to access our product, and we provide a lot of education. We say we understand, and we're, it's not about being elite about it. It's not like we're trying to be exclusive. It's just these are our values and we stand by them, so we're not compromising on them. But here's what we will teach you about it. Here's why it's worth not buying 5 but buying one really good one, right? Or saving for it, or buying a secondhand one if you can, or wait for a sale. Those are the kind of things that we encourage. So
I love it. And I'll come back on the values because I know it's such a big part of the brand and reason for your motivation as an entrepreneur, but also the success of the brand. But I'll go back to my freedom. I want to talk time freedom.
Did you put on headphones? Sorry.
That's okay. So as a Burju, I can give you some background. We were texting on WhatsApp when to book the session, and we said Monday no because we have hiking, and then Wednesday you were going diving, and then Tuesday there was a school event. And that's just an example. Like usually when you talk to a 7-figure entrepreneur and trying to find time, it's usually, I have this work thing. And for you, it was, it's hiking, diving, or I'm going to watch my kids doing sports. And for me, that's time freedom. That's that you have design. It's not that you don't work a lot, but you have the flexibility. How did you do that? Like so many of my clients dream of a flexible schedule like this. How does it work? Tell us.
So, my story is a little unique because I out of college, I took the traditional corporate path, and I knew immediately it was not for me. And I think I lasted maybe 2 years before I said, you know what, I'm just going to quit and try this dancing thing full time. So I've been at it for a while where I've been able to make my own schedule, work when I choose, whether it's private lessons or coaching, dancers to this business. So it felt very natural to me, and I didn't want my life any other way. I knew that I wanted to be able to make time for family members or important engagements and be available. I still work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, by the way. It's not like I'm completely like, I'm not one of those, I only work 4 hours a week people. Part of that is because I actually really love what I do. I enjoy the creative process of designing something new. I love the creative process of the marketing campaigns, and it's a community I'm familiar with as a ex-dancer. So I love serving the community. So part of it's just my addiction to it, right? But yeah, I think in that process, and everyone I talk to, whether it's someone I want to hire to join the team or a partner, that's always upfront in the conversation as far as, as long as the work is being done, as long as we're all contributing to this, common goal, I don't care if you work 9 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock at night. I don't mind if you're in Europe or in Latin America or the US. So, and, I think all businesses, especially when you're online, they're pretty much expected to be 24/7 anyway. We do serve worldwide. So if someone in France is looking to buy something, at 10 o'clock in the morning, we're all asleep, but I do have, staff that work those hours because they're in another part of the world or they have the same flexibility we do. So in my mind, when we created this business, I was like, okay, we're going into e-commerce. We technically have to be on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even holidays, between answering customer service emails, being on the DMs and the chats. All those things are there. So we just looked for people that were looking for that same kind of flexibility and just had the skill set and the desire to really be like show up authentically, because we want everyone to feel authentic, not just our customers, but inside. So you find those people, and then that's the culture of your environment. It's funny. I always say the stories when the pandemic happened and everyone all of a sudden was home and people were like, how was that different for you? Like, how did it affect you? I was like, it didn't. I was already like working that way. The only difference is everyone else was home with me. I used to have my own, so like I had to kind of find different rooms in the house to get some quiet. But so I just feel like it was something that felt very natural to me, and I that's what I put out into the world. And so I was surrounded by people that also embraced that work culture, so it's very easy internally and also externally. We're able to support customers 24/7. There's always someone available, which is great.
Tell me a little bit about your team, because I think that's a big piece. How did you tell us the structure of the team? You said they're based globally. How did you find them? How do you lead a high performing team? Because this is a high performing business that allows all this flexibility and location independence. How you need to have a stellar team. How did you do this?
Oh, it's all through really, I think, personal relationships. So first of all, my husband and I were business partners, right? He was my dance partner and he was my business partner in starting this online shoe business as well. So it was just the two of us doing everything from answering orders to packing the orders to creating it to doing the marketing, all the things. And then eventually, as it started growing, we started looking first. It started with just kind of like part-time work. So we just looked for people that were looking for an extra gig, someone that was flexible like us, right? Like that was like, oh, I just need something in between here and here. And really, I love working with personal relationships. Like it's always to me, like if I know someone and I know they're a type of person that shares similar values and things as I do, I know we attracts like, right? So I'd be like, oh my God, Katarina, you're in the coaching space, right? Like I value your opinion. I know who you are as a human being. I love you. I like you as a friend. Do you have any recommendations if I'm looking for coaching when it comes to this, or something, or in that sphere,
Yeah.
right? I'd
Yeah.
also just like you to ask for a book recommendation from someone that you feel has, the same ideas as you. So the first person we actually got was a production manager, which was crucial because there was always kind of like a loss in translation, right? Because you're working with Asia and Turkey, and while I'm Turkish, I immigrated when I was 2 years old, so it's a very choppy Turkish. So finding a production manager that was, bilingual and could handle that was key. And we actually found them through the dancing. They were actually fans of my husband and I, and we got to talking after a few meals. And I was like, listen, I think you're great. Your energy is great. She already loved our product, like loved what we were doing. And I was like, can you help me with this problem I have? And she's like, I actually have the skills. I've worked in manufacturing. And I was like, oh my God. Now, the big question I'm sure we'll follow up is how did you pay them, right? Because you have this small company and like I was barely making, at the time. So the business is going on like about 15 years, by the way, right? So at the time, a couple of years in, this is like 2010, 2011, I was probably making $50,000 if that, like very little. And of course, bad years, bad months, that goes
Mhm.
up and down. You get, as a business owner. So I was just real honest. I was like, I don't know how to pay a salary that a production manager can, but what can do is agree to some type of other sharing of profit. And we agreed to a per pair payment. So as my orders grew, her income grew, right? So if we pay $2 or $3 on every pair that I order, that she's making. So yes, my cost of goods, if you will, or my hard cost went up slightly, but it mitigated some risk because it wasn't like I have to pay $100,000 salary to this person, which is probably the going rate for someone that does that role. Because she was very interested and in love with the product and kind of like a passion project, right? So there's a little bit of like ownership in it. She felt like she had stake in it, and she was committed to the growth of it as well. And, now fast forward 10 years later, she's surpassed that salary because the volume that we're ordering. So she was committed to the potential of making more in the future, of something growing, of the idea. So there's something to be said about being so passionate about what you're doing, that you get people to fall in love with you and the mission and the values. And it's like an investor. They become an investor. And while we never had capital investors with money, we had a lot of sweat equity investors early on. And I attribute to us being just really committed to this project and doing something so unique and different. And you find your like attracts like, and you start finding the right people. The next person was an operations manager. Also, you need $150,000 minimum salary to hire one of those. But she came on as a contractor, making very little. I think we were paying like at the time like 5,000 a month, right? And again, it's also about flexibility. I was like, I'm not looking for you to work 60, 70 hours. Like, I'm like, if you're efficient and you do your job in 5 or 6, you still get that money. And she also just fell in love with the project and was like, you know what? I believe in this company and I believe it will have a return on my time investment in the future, which is, as an entrepreneur, that's what we're doing too. Like, we often go years without making money or cutting our salaries or all the things we have to do, right? But we believe in ourselves. Hopefully that's, you got to believe in yourself to get out in this business, right? And it pays off in the long run, I think. So that's how we built our team.
Thank you for sharing. This is so insightful. I wanted to pull out first, it's not a new business. Like, it didn't break the 7 figures revenue in your first few years for all of us that we're still growing that business. So staying in the game, and to stay in the game, you need to be passionate about what you do. Otherwise, nobody stays 15 years building a business if you don't really love it. So how important it is to really choose a business you are passionate versus I'll do this business to make money. It needs to be something that comes out of I would like to do this. I would like to see this in the world. You said they were comfortable shoes and pretty shoes. You wanted to create comfortable shoes for dancing that were also pretty. You wanted to create something to see in the world. But also the employees, early employees as investors, people who share your values and are passionate about the business. And that's something I didn't do in the beginning. I would hire people that were not even into personal development. I would hire them for the skill. And then when I hired someone that really loved coaching as a team member, I saw the difference. Like, I got an email, a text today from my team member in the Philippines. He said, I watched your video with my husband yesterday. It really helped us a lot. I was like, this is extra time she's putting in consuming the content because she loves what we do. And it makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You cannot buy passion. You know what I mean? You can't buy motivation. And so when someone's passionate about what they're doing, they're just highly motivated, highly dedicated. And it's just always about transparency. I was like, look, when I grow, we all grow. Like, I'm not going to grow and I'm not going to, make the millions and leave you behind. Like, you're coming with me on this journey. And there's risks involved, right? There's going to be years like pandemic, we almost lost it all. And I sacrificed my own pay in order to keep people as long as we could, but we could talk about it later if you want, but it turned around for us July of 2020. But those first few months were bad. It was very, very scary. My husband went back to get another job because he was like, maybe I should, get another stream of income and not take from the business. And that helped us, by not having to pay his salary, cutting my salary, we could keep our employees. I'm not saying everyone should do that. All I'm saying is that, in our corporate culture, we've really built an environment where I don't really think they're my employees. They're my teammates. Like, they're my colleagues. We work together. We definitely build this together. They have skill sets that complement mine. And I can't run this business without them, let alone be in Costa Rica and do it whenever I want. Right. So, but I think a lot of it is attributed to the fact that they love what we do. They love the brand. They love the community we're building, and they don't want to be anywhere else. So they will fight as hard as I do to really see this brand succeed. And for that, they're also rewarded because their efforts, have a return. And then I'm like, well, great. We won this year, so we're all going to win. Here's a massive payout, right? Like, here's a massive raise, massive bonuses. And so that's our culture.
I wanted to ask you about that because I know about that, like, the level of salary increases and bonuses and the Costa Rica retreat you did for your team. Talk a little bit about that, like, because the business had a crisis in the pandemic and then started exploding. Because we had the question from one of my Vision Path members, how do you decide what to pay yourself? And I know how generous you are with your team. Tell me what you're thinking about that, because they are now way highly paid compared to what's out there in the industry, especially physical goods industry. Tell me a little bit, how is your thinking about team compensation and your compensation?
Right. So that's great. I mean, everything starts with numbers. Obviously, we look at our financials and, there's got to be some between the revenue, like there's got to be enough room in there to pay. So based on what that pot of money looks like, you figure out how to divvy it. Now, we're borderline. We haven't gotten to the point where everyone's at equal play to, let's say, me and my operation managers. There's kind of like two tiers right now. So we have the higher level, like myself, that's like CEO, if you will, if you want to use those. We don't really use those traditional terms, but like the managers, the people that are doing the very, very brunt work of it, do have a escalated level of pay. And then everyone else, regardless of if you're answering emails, doing orders, are at the same pay, which is, I think at this point, quadruple what any minimum wage in one of the best cities in the US or the states in the US. And once, like that year that we were doing bad, everyone took a pay cut. I went to zero just because I just didn't know what to do. I was even looking for extra work. I was like, if I can just keep the business alive, like keep the team going. I mean, I'll work an extra 20-hour shift doing something else. But that's just me. That's just how I am. I didn't want to lose the people, and I also told them, I said, if you need additional work somewhere else, just let me know. We'll adjust your hours. I get it. It's like we all got to survive. We all have to put food on the table. But they all took pay cuts as well. So when whatever the business, basically, you got to start where the business is at. If you have the money, like think about really how to share that pie generously, because it will have a return on investment. So sure, like I could literally probably make double what I'm making now, but I choose to pay everybody better because I'm very comfortable and I have the life I choose. I don't live in a mansion, I live in a nice house. And I'm not mad at it. My kids are in paradise, right? We have a little pool. My dog has a yard. Like we're okay with that because I have the time and location freedom. So for me, it's not about maximizing my dollar as much as it is all the things that I need balance. So if that means I have to pay a lot of people very well in order to keep holding, keep those pillars strong so the business keeps running, that's well worth it for me. Like it's, you hear people all the time that will take lower paying, lower salary jobs because they get better flexibility. They can work from home. So there's always like, okay, we have this amount of money in the, in the pot. How does that get divvied up so that kind of the senior, more tenured staff do, because they have the most sweat equity, and we don't want to discount that and have someone that comes in brand new necessarily make that same. That's not the fairest to me either. Yeah. So they've got a level. And then there's the secondary level that they make a wonderfully living wage. And they all only work really 20 to 30 hours. They're all part-time, which allows them the opportunity to pursue other passions and projects. So one of my employees is in law school, which is heavily demanding, which is something she loves. And she's able to, just work 20 hours and make a livable wage supporting herself in law school, which most people can't. And if you know anything about the States, right? And then, they're all kind of like, we have other passions. I'm like, great, work the hours you want as long as the work is getting done. And then us at the kind of full-time level, the more senior, we're working, whatever it takes, sometimes more, sometimes less. But you just have to evaluate your business. If there's good years, we offer additional incentives. So there's bonuses. So since the pandemic, it actually became our first year that we broke 1 million after July. And there was great profit. So what we did with that profit is we gave 20% raises across the board, which is literally unheard of. Obviously, it beats inflation, which is great. And we also gave 15% bonuses to everyone. On top of that, we started providing additional ways to support our staff, like tuition reimbursement for those that are school, other kind of reimbursements, whether it's like, certain travel expenses for something, as long as like if you're going to still conduct some meetings. There's also, because everyone works from home, so there's stipends for like, you can reimburse for portions of your home office. For all of you that want to know about, talk to your bookkeepers about that, right? So whether it's the internet you use, the office space you use, the phone service, whatever. So we're able to provide additional money. And by the way, that's tax-free money, right? Because anything that's income or bonus is taxed. But if you're able to do reimbursement money, as and you have to put this all in a handbook, but all of those. So when there's extra money, we actually, side note, you have to be very clear on what you want for your business. My goal is not to sell my business. And because it's a very clear goal, I am not concerned about whether my business is profitable at the end of the year. What I mean by that is it's profitable, but then I take that profit and I spend it on my people, if that makes sense. So my business can show 0 at the end of the year, and I'm fine with that because I don't want someone to buy me later, and they're not going to look at my books and be like, what's your profit, and why do you only make 5,000 or 0 profit every year, and you got to pay people. That's not, again, I won't compromise. That was a question. I will never compromise my values at the expense of that. I'm not beholden to shareholders, so they don't get paid. We're not publicly paid, so none of that. Sorry about that. So I have that freedom. So if I have a pot of money at the end, that's a clear result of the team's work, then we divide that pie up in very creative ways so that it's all used up. Now, if there's a year that we don't have that extra profit, then everybody understands that there will be a year that we maybe don't get all those perks. But it's just kind of the ebb and flow of the business and how it goes. And we're staying committed to making it grow and find new and creative ways to make sure that we still, have a profit, because everyone will win from that.
This background that you gave helped me understand, because I knew what you're doing for your team. And I was like, Burju is so generous. And I knew you said, I don't want to sell the business because nobody would treat the team as well as if an external buyer buys the business, will say, why are they paid so highly? But now I understand all this concept that these people were with you through the hard times. So a lot of those people, like the concept, you didn't just say, be an investor in the business just in the beginning that we don't have a lot of revenue, but then when the business grows, it's all mine. You're an investor. So we're together when it's high and when it's low. So it's I can see now your sense of duty. Like when it's high, let me find creative ways. So they're not even, if it's tuition. So we share that upside because they shared the downside as well, whether it was the beginning of the business or where it was COVID. Now it makes more sense.
But understand that anyone that's coming after that, even though they haven't had the sweat equity, we don't deny them the same benefits, right? Because again, whoever comes on, even if they come on today, we're looking for the type of person that's just as committed as the person was, day one when we were making no money, right? And it's still very important that we maintain that culture. But and we have very transparent conversations, by the way. And I know this isn't very traditional, but our financials for the business are open book for everyone on the team. So everyone can literally see how much money we're making, how much money we're spending. We all know each other's salaries. There is no hidden information. And again, that might not be for everybody, but I think that level of transparency creates something very unique in the culture of our organization. There's a trust and there's an open line of communication. Like at any point, someone can question the decisions I'm making, and I'm happy to talk to them about it. Say, here, this is why I'm deciding to spend the money this way. This is what I'm looking to do, what I'm trying to grow, and this is how hopefully it will return for all of us. And it's a risk. And are you okay with that? Because if it doesn't pan out and we don't make that practice, what's at stake? Nobody gets a bonus, including me. Like, I don't give a bonus. I don't get a bonus unless everyone's getting a bonus. I'm not getting the raise unless everyone's getting the raise. That's just something that I believe in because I know I didn't do this on my own. Yes, I have the initial ideas. Yes, they're my design. Yes, I know the business doesn't work without me either. I get that. But be honest, I'm one human being. I have small children that I choose to be present for. I'm not willing to sacrifice my entire life for a business. So I lean heavily on my team to pick up slack. Katarina knows today's the last day of school for this trimester. We're about to be on break for 3 weeks. And I'm like, everybody be patient with me. I may not be as available. And everyone's like, oh, have fun. We don't want to see you at all. Like, nobody's mad about it because when I'm on 24/7. Like, you can access me as long as I'm awake, right? So I think that's important to note, that nobody holds a grudge. Oh, I've been here 10 years and I've been through the hard. Why do you get to reap the benefits? It's about opening a door and keeping it open for others to pass through as well. That's a very core value. Wow. It's not like, I had to work hard for this, so you should have to struggle. I don't believe in that. I believe in, hey, we struggled to get here and now we're here. And as long as you're willing to be a great team player and contribute positively to this community internally and our community that we serve, then you're just as worthy as I am. So that's just, I don't know, it's just a belief I have.
I'm so happy to bring this to my community, because this is not what we were taught at business school. This is not the normal business entrepreneur, like this thing. Like, it looks like you created, as I see it externally as a friend, like this dream workplace. The team is highly motivated. You love what you do, and this allows you the freedom. Because I know I had a person in my Vision Path community. She has a business. She was thinking, I want to be more present with my kids, and this dilemma. And seeing you as an example, I can do that, but I've created a like hugely motivated team that can really have my back when my kids are off school. I think that's an important message.
It's a very important message.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, I think why I'm able to live in Costa Rica, work whenever I want to work or wherever I want to work, is because my team feel it's not a job for them. They feel like it's their business as well. And they're committed to not only its survival, but it's, thriving. Because they're the ones that are in college, even though they're studying all kinds of other things and could go into corporate world, they're like, can I just stay with you? And I was like, hey, as long as we're still standing, you've got a place, you know what I mean? So yeah, we all have to understand that in order to achieve a work-life balance where you have the freedom of location and time, and if that's truly what you want, then you have to understand you have to build a team that's compensated well, because they too need to be able to live that lifestyle. They too need to be able to have location and time freedom. My people are all over the world. And it's because they don't behold them to some, a brick and mortar structure, right? But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, and it's not a huge team. Just to say, how many, if you want to share, it's not like the huge team, small agile team.
Yeah, there's 9 of us.
Yeah.
That's it. So there's, just to answer some other questions, is like you build efficiencies, right? You lean into processes, technologies, and things that build efficiency. So as much customer service questions that we get, we still only have 2 people that handle that, and they lean into chat and AI. And we found, again, partners that are willing to create these efficiencies so that we don't need 20 people answering emails. We just have 2 very efficient people that do it extremely well.
Nice. So. Okay, the question we have from our audience: is there anything you would say helped you get over that breakthrough revenue, talking, I think, after the pandemic, or was it an incremental, slow growth? And it's where I wanted to go our conversation. We talked time freedom, location freedom. I want to go financial freedom, because that allows you to pay your staff. Like, let's talk money and growth and business.
Let's do it. Okay. So there's been several ceilings that we've hit in our business. Okay. We started because I was a Latin dancer. It was very much focused on the Latin dance shoe industry. And at some point, we brought something different to that industry. So there, we grew, but then you have the people that, then there's a saturation point, right? Where other in businesses come and they start trying to do the same thing, and they're right. So you kind of hit a ceiling there. And we noticed like we were growing. So we had passed the 6 figures. I think it took us, in full transparency and honesty, while I started the business in 2008, I didn't actually successfully launch the brand till 2010. I was just kind of like, it was literally like I was on a tour dancing professionally, and I threw a few shoes in my backpack to take with me, and I would just sell them there. And then in 2010, I was like, all right, I'm going to launch this thing. And now I have a website. And then it was very like poorly managed because I was still touring. So I would always like take 5 days to answer any emails, and customer service sucked. Anyway, so when we finally established something that was a little bit more, real, it took us about 2 or 3 more years until we broke the 6 figures, right? Broke 100K. At that point, I was pregnant with my daughter, and I was really contemplating whether I wanted to continue being on tour. I'm about to start a family, and I was like, do I really want to be on the road all the time, or do I need some stability? So I started to take my business very, very seriously. And that's when like production manager, operation, like I brought in more people, and it was risky and scary. But again, like with these conversations of if I grow, you grow, are you willing to give it a try? And so that was good. Then we hit a ceiling with the Latin dance market. I just feel like there's only so many people in that audience, right? There's, you could do all your Google research and you find like this has this many people, right? So we hit a ceiling. We were kind of that top brand at the time. There was also competitors, and we're like, how do we break out of it? At that time, like 2012, we noticed the rise of heels dancing. For those of you that know, those are the kind of like, think Beyonce's backup dancers. Like when you see them dancing and they're in a high heel, that genre of dance incorporates hip hop and contemporary, all kinds of dance, but you have to do it in a high heel. Now, before us, a lot of them were just buying shoes from the mall and suffering through it. And it's very painful and very bad for you. So we're like, what if we created a even more fashionable line that caters to this crew of people? So we still hadn't broken it because it was like a trust thing, because these people were used to getting their heels that we're training in for like from like Amazon for $20. And here we are like, here's my shoe for $150 and why you should buy it. So it became pivotal for us to get with the instructors and teachers and like kind of pioneers in the industry, like choreographers. And we were able to get in contact with Jennifer Lopez's choreographers, and we gave them shoes. It was a lot of giving away free stuff, like, because they had to believe. That's the education piece, right? We had to show them the benefits of wearing a proper dance shoe. It's that whole conversation of you need to wear ballet shoes or cleats to do that activity, right? So through that, then we got the shoes on J-Lo. Then we got the shoes on like Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. And then that gives you some street credibility. So then you break through that ceiling. And now we're in this whole, we went from just Latin dancers. Now we have Latin and heels dancers. And that genre, because I'm obsessed with dance, I was following it. I saw the growth of it. The amount of dancers coming in and wanting to learn this genre was like all ballet dancers, all traditional dancers. Oh, this is so great, right? It's a new thing. So we were doing well, but we got to a point where we were like, we just couldn't, the next barrier was the $1 million, right? We're like, we keep kind of, doing this, like, and I'm like, oh man. And I'm reading all these books and they say $1 million is the hardest thing to break. And I was like, how do we get there? And then the pandemic hits, right? Mind you, the year before we had experienced some slowdowns. That's a long story. So we just had some things that we had to fix in the business and really fine tune how our voice was to our community because we were starting to confuse people, I think. So we were losing money there. And then the pandemic hit, and literally the next day people stopped shopping. It was like we went from orders to zero, and it went on a second day and a week and then a month. And, you start panicking. So then I started reaching out to the community because dancers and anyone that's in the event or entertainment space was freaking out because, everything got canceled, all tours, all concerts, all everything, everyone's revenue all of a sudden vanished, right? And that's the community I mostly serve. So then I was just like on like social media, like just like trying to see what the community, what they were worried about most. And I said, and I just was reaching out. It's like, how can I support you? And some of them resorted to teaching free live stream classes. They were just like, at this point, this is all I've got. Everyone's stuck at home. No one's coming in the studio. We'll just do this. And then I said, well, let me know if I can help. Like, I'll broadcast it on my channel too. At least we can share it to bigger audiences. So I was just at a point of like, what can I do to support y'all? What can we do together to get through this? And what ended up happening is I ended up doing one of these live classes with Kira Harper, is a famous choreographer. She's done stuff for like, what's her name? Victoria Monet and stuff. She's really well known in the industry. And she was just really thankful that I did it. She had an explosive live session, and I just threw out like something like $50 or $100 gift cards, even though it was a lot. I was just like, maybe someone needs a pair of heels to practice at home with. And in that one day, we did like a month worth of sales. And it was like the lifeline. Like I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And then, so I didn't expect that. I thought maybe a few people would buy. And then I went back to Kira and I was like, Kira, I don't know if you know this, but like all these people bought, I just made a month worth of sales. I said, I'm sending you $10,000. And she's like, excuse me, what? And I was like, that's commission for all the sales that you helped me get. And she's like, are you kidding? And you know what I mean? Like, I just was like, I couldn't have done this if I didn't do this with you. And it was because of you. And you spoke highly on the live. And oh, by the way, Burju Shoes is a brand. I really love them. All these things. All of a sudden, like, I'm flooded with sales. So I gave her a $10,000 check. And then we had a meeting the next day and we decided to collaborate on a collection. And then that collection is what got us past the $1 million, because it was her endorsement of like, I now have a line with Burju Shoes and here's why, you know what I mean? It's all that, it's the story, right? Like this is why I trust them. This is why I partner with them. And it was like the stamp of approval we needed. And all of a sudden that all these people that had a barrier to entry because it was too expensive were buying the shoes. And all of a sudden I'm like, I do not know how we managed to get past $1 million in the worst, the year was the worst we'd ever had, half of the year. And then in just 6 months we passed it. And then we were kind of like, when everyone got past it, I think there was people just started shopping online more. I think that if there's any silver linings to the pandemic is people that didn't normally do that started doing that. So I think all e-commerce brands experienced a surge in business because of people like, oh, I'm gonna buy it online, blah, buy it online, ship it to me. I don't need to go to the store. And shoes is a very hard thing to sell online, by the way, because of the try-on factor. But we solved that with AI sizing. Side note, again, technologies, right? Like, how do you mitigate all those returns? Anyway, so we've had explosive years. And now, again, I'm about full transparency, but for the first time, 2023, we've seen that growth slow down, right? So it's not, we were on this kind of like uphill trajectory. Every year we were smashing records, and now we kind of plateaued. So we're evaluating, is this a ceiling within our industry? Are we hitting that kind of heels dance ceiling? Is it because globally people are settling back down into, we don't need to consume so much, which is valid and I highly support. So then we implemented things like our, secondhand sales for that reason, because we don't want to promote overconsumption. We want to reuse our product until it's completely, hopefully biodegradables. What we're trying to go for is get things that are completely recyclable materials. So when you're done, I don't know, you plant your shoe in the backyard and it grows into a tree or something like that. That's the end game, right? We're not there yet. Don't give me any like flowers, but we're working on it. And so, we're in that kind of like understanding, like we've grown, but like we're not experiencing the same amount of growth as before. So what do we do now? So now we have our sights set on the fashion industry. Like, how do we take what we have, which is a fashionable, comfortable shoe, and bring it to the everyday human being? So we broaden our audience. Yes, people might be overall consuming less, but if we increase our audience size, then we'll continue to experience some growth, right? So we're starting by hitting some niches like bridal, because what other event do you do a lot of dancing and want comfortable heels for, right? So we have a massive launch. Then we're going into size inclusivity. We're talking about not just wide width and up to size 15, because we're gender neutral. Like, we don't care. All humans can wear heels. So there's part of it. We're talking about thigh highs that fit 7 different widths of legs, right? We're talking about really making a product that's made for every human. And so those kind of things are we're leaning into even more and more and more and more. And again, so at the end of the day, like, to me, scaling and growth, my mindset is not, I want unlimited growth. Like, I don't really think I just want to be able to provide something amazing to my community, do it sustainably, ethically, make sure the people that help me build it are paid super duper well. And at the end of the day, the product somehow disintegrates into the earth, so the impact isn't big, without promoting overconsumption. Like, everyone deserves a nice pair of heels, because you want to look nice. It elevates something for you, your confidence, your height, your style, whatever. So there is still value in that, but we don't all need 50 pairs, right? Like, so I'm happy if I can serve millions of people 1 or 2 pairs of shoes in their lifetime, and I provide such a high quality product that lasts so long, that supports them, that's all they ever need, right? Like that's kind of it. And there's new people, hopefully new generations, as they get older, they'll need it. So if I can serve all those people once or twice with something so great and create a circular product, I think that's my end game, or that's my, you won Monopoly. You know what I'm saying?
Love
like,
it.
without being Monopoly. I don't know.
You answered so many questions there.
I hope
I just
so.
wanted to pull my thing, which was the inspired action. I have a full lesson on Vision Path about how many the breakthroughs or huge successes you can, and it's opportunities that seem to come out of nowhere. They came because you took an inspired action, and inspired action was something that, yeah, you knew it was in the right direction, like your join live. How can I start this community? You knew it moved towards the right direction. You didn't necessarily calculate it. I'll do this and that will break me the million. So I just wanted to point that out. I didn't know that story, and I loved it. How your intentions of, and in my story, a lot of the big opportunities came for things I did volunteering. Like you did, this live was a volunteering. I volunteered to interview another coach, and this is the article that Penguin found and offered me a book deal. Like stories like this, that sometimes you partner with someone, you don't even think about it. You say, this will be a nice thing to do. And that's the thing that creates the breakthrough. I love to point this out for the community, because we're working so much on vision and inspiration and intuition, and how those things are what cause the breakthrough many times.
Absolutely. I think everything that's been a breakthrough has been, as you said, inspired action. It's never been about chasing money. And I just want to point out something funny. I meet with my email marketing team like bi-weekly, right? And so I scream from the top of my lungs whenever I start with a partner. I say, I refuse to be treated like any other brand. We are different, and I don't want to be put into cookie cutter solutions. I wanted things done differently. So when I do email campaigns and SMS campaigns, I don't want to inundate my people with, here's another sale, here's another sale, here's another sale. That's not my goal. It's to literally build community and strengthen relationships. How can I educate them? How can I support them? And how can I celebrate them? So the logo is B, right? So we have this thing called Be Connected, the letter B and connected. And it's all about connecting members of the community. We spotlight dancers. We spotlight our, someone in the community that's done amazing things. We talk about even our own brand, like, look, we donated this to this organization this year to help uplift this voice. We spoke on that, social justice, this, that. We just want you to know so you're connected. We have something called Be the Change. And that's our kind of social impact where we do talk about our sustainability practices and what we're constantly doing to challenge our own ways. Because regardless, we sell a product, we have an impact. I'm not impact free, right? But we are offsetting, I think about 120% of our shipping emissions. And why do I say 120%? It's because we've calculated all our shipping, whether it's drop shipping, inventory shipments, sea, air, whatever it is, we've calculated it. And then we've tacked on an additional 20% in order to offset even returns and things like that. So we're planting trees, investing in carbon, like sucking out of the air projects, which are expensive, but we're doing it to make sure that part of our business is completely carbon, I guess positive, no, negative. I forget what it is. We're doing more than we need to. We're not neutral, hopefully. And now our focus is on the actual physical product. Like I said, how do we break down the components? Yes, we have secondhand, so we really make sure that shoe is just used until it's flat and not worthy anymore. And then how do we recycle it? Oh my God, I lost track of what was our original question? I'm sorry, I got very excited.
No, I love where you're going.
Inspired action. Yes. Inspired action. Everything is about, we are so hyper community focused. At the end of the day, what we started saying is we don't sell a shoe. We don't sell, it's not just and we always learn that in business, right? Solve a problem, right? I want cute shoes, but I don't want to hurt my feet, right? So yes, we do that, but we've gone past that. We're not about that problem, and more about what are we really providing for these people. We're providing a safe space for them to show up authentically and be celebrated. And that to me is one of the biggest things in our current world with what we're facing, that if you can provide safe community where people are seen, where people feel like you're advocating for them, where you're fighting for them, where you're really there to support them. And I wasn't like, oh, that's the $1 billion idea. That's just like who I wanted to show. That's just who I am personally. And I told my brand, I said, I can't be one way personally and not show up this way. So I don't care if some people don't like it. This is how I choose to be. And I'm going to be who I'm going to be. I also want to be authentic in the world, right? Yeah. And the level of loyalty that's created is insane. And it wasn't even the intention. It was the inspired action of doing something so profound for our community that they just, it feels like home. I've heard people say that, I just feel at home. Whenever I'm on your social media, I just feel like I get a warm hug from you. I'm just like, great. That's my purpose in this world.
Incredible.
Warm hugging people.
And the title of our session was a freedom first and purpose-driven business. So I wanted to, you already mentioned 15, 20 sources of purpose in your business. It's so.
That's right.
And that's why I wanted to share your story, because you got your values and who you are and created the brand around it. And people will say, oh, it's easy to do. It's easy because you give scholarships, you pay your team well, you have a big platform on social media and you try to have it representation, like everyone is represented. Like you usually recently did a photo shoot and you were actively looking, I want all body shapes of people. I want all sexual orientations. I want someone with hijab. I love that. Like all these things you're doing to create this inclusive community. Did you do that? Some people may be cynical and say, oh, it's easy when you have a successful business, when you have 100K followers on Instagram, you can use your platform. It's easy when the business makes money to give scholarships and pay people well and be sustainable and offset. Tell us, was this since the beginning? Was this the moment that you said, I want to share more of myself with my brand and more of my values, and it's not a shoe brand? How was that journey? Was it from the beginning or it evolved?
I'll say it evolved because, I'm 45, 46 years old. So like, I'm not trying to say there's a problem with my age or generational thing. I just think I'm a product of immigrant parents, okay, that came to the States and were focused on go to college, get a career, like that path, right? And I've always had a creative side of me. I was always into dance and arts and music. And the language for me was like, you cannot make a career out of that. You'll be a starving artist, right? Like this kind of language. So, my parents weren't bad people. It's just, again, what they knew at the time, right? And now my dad's my biggest fan. Like, it's like, but when I wanted to quit my cushy, portfolio manager finance job and go dance full time, like his first thing was like, what are you gonna do for insurance? And what about, and I was like, I'll figure it out. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I don't know, but I need to do this. It's my life. And if I'm going to crash and burn, I need to do it my way. And then I'll figure it out. Right. Like, so, you know, there's a side of me that still had some fears and doubts because of that. Like, am I doing the right thing? Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So when I started my business, there was a lot of traditional business ways and ideas that you drew from, right? And again, like, TikTok or Instagram wasn't as developed then, right? So you didn't have as much access to people telling their story of how they did it differently, right? So you didn't have the role models like that. All my role models were very traditional business people. So while I was very authentic in who I was as a human being, a passionate artist, I think that did help to building some success in my business. It wasn't until actually the pandemic when I literally had like even like a life crisis, like reevaluating like why are we all here and what are we doing, where I realized that I was holding back the side of me that was also very much an activist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And because again, it was that fear because everyone that was very close to me, relatives, best friends, were like, you probably shouldn't talk about that stuff on a business profile. You probably shouldn't, just keep it quiet. Nobody wants to hear about that stuff on business. So I was like, I felt like really like trapped and I was having like just a lot. I was just going through a lot emotionally. And I was like, well, then I don't think I want to have this business anymore.
Wow.
I really don't. I mean, yeah, they see the side of me that's, fun and charismatic and loves the arts and supports the arts, but they don't see the part of me that's fighting hard for the planet and for people. And when people are hurting, I'm hurting. Like, ooh, excuse me. I get emotional. And I just said my platform for my business is way bigger than my personal platform. So why wouldn't I use it to do some good? Like it can't just be about making the money. It has to be about more. I don't want, if that's the only way, I don't want it,
Yeah.
So I get emotional, guys. Sorry.
No, I love, but that's what we want. We want real people.
Yeah. I mean,
That's so inspirational.
Listen, it took me a pandemic because I was already about to lose it all. And I guess maybe that's maybe that's a cop out, when you're at a point where you're like, we can all lose everything at any point anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like anything can take you out. Like those sayings that you don't know if you're going to be around tomorrow, right? Like, why are we hiding? So I did all the things. And ironically enough, like one brand that I felt was actually doing what I felt was what I needed to do was Ben and Jerry's. Yes, the ice cream brand. They were talking. Look it up when you're done. You'll be fascinated. If you go to their social media, you'll see all their social activism. They talk a lot about the prison industrial complex. I learned so much I didn't even know that that's the level of stuff that was going on. And I learned it from an ice cream brand. That just goes to show you how important our roles are as entrepreneurs, because we rely on like just the news or the media and stuff like that. But it's real human beings that are teaching each other, right? So like, if I'm a real human being, which last time I checked I am, and I have these real lived experiences and I'm learning from other human beings, and then I have like a platform or voice, why not share it with other human beings? And so I told my team, I was like, see Ben and Jerry's, we need to be like this. And they were all scared because they're like, oh, we're going to get some hate and da-da. And we did. We lost followers. We got hate mail, all the things, threatening stuff. It was crazy. It was wild. And at the end of the day, and it hurt at first, like I've definitely developed more of a thicker skin after a while of doing it. But I realized I was so glad that I went through that because it just cleared out the weeds. they weren't for us.
Yeah.
Those people were not meant to be our people. And I found a whole other more massive community that's so much more loyal, not just to the product, but to the community that we're trying to build and the safe spaces that we're trying to create. That's massive. That's called like, so like, it's one thing we always talk about these metaphors, right? Like low hanging fruit, right? When you're doing business, go after your low hanging fruit, you know, like this language. And I'm like, well, we're not doing that. We're watering the garden.
Yeah.
We're nurturing the soil over here. You know what I'm saying? That's powerful because you might not see immediate results that low hanging fruit gives you, but to me, it's become way more sustainable. And I'm proud of what I built, and I'll take all the downs for it. And if this is the height of it, and then we get nothing more, then I still feel like it's been worth it. You know what I mean? We're still here. We're still in Costa Rica. I'm here for my kids. So I've won.
I don't think it's by chance that the moment you brought more of yourself and your values to the business is the moment the business broke through the million.
Oh yeah.
Because that's my work, right? I help people. What are your values? What do you stand for? What do you feel called to do? Who you are, and aligning this with your work. And that's when people explode. Even though rationally you're so afraid, oh my goodness, I will get the hate, which you did. I've been going through a similar journey. I've been developing spiritually, but I've been holding back this part of myself because my audience came from tech, from Google, from the MBAs. It's like, I was in a spiritual closet. Let me not share a lot of the woo-woo stuff that I started loving more and more. Like it's similar, but this is who I am now. And the more I started sharing it with my community, I attracted the people who love this stuff. So this is it. And my business feels more aligned with what I believe. Like we all, as entrepreneurs, have to go through a similar journey. How can I bring more of myself and my values into this business?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the questions one's had. Like, how do you know when something's not working for you anymore? I think you can feel when you're not aligned anymore, like when there's a disconnect. And I think, it can sometimes show literally in profits and revenue. Like when you're not fully aligned with the thing that you're putting out in the world, it's just not going to have the same success. And it's not that the product is crap or the service is crap. It's just that the person behind it is not aligned with it. And that's okay. Not that product or service doesn't serve some communities. It's just that I can't show up on social media. I can't come up on an interview and speak passionate about I can't, you know what I mean? If I don't love e-commerce. So it's not like, I'm not one of those people like, yeah. And then I built a second e-commerce business selling, biodegradable cups. I'm just like, yeah, like it's just, that doesn't work for me. Like that's not the part of the business that I'm in love with. I'm in love with the part that there's a community of people. I think it comes back, it stems from what I found in dance. Okay. Something that I discovered in myself through dance is a way to express myself, to really see myself, to really put myself out there and feel all the things that I couldn't always feel through words. I did it through movement. It's very, there's a lot, everyone carries trauma. We all have trauma, past and current, as they say. And the other day, right, I was running on the beach with your husband. We're like running for our little training for our race. And I started crying, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm just movement helps me release. Like I'm just releasing things." So like, there's something about that keeps me anchored in everything I do. So it's about like giving other people that opportunity to express themselves, to find themselves, to be authentic, to feel all the things, to release trauma. So I provide a product that helps people achieve that. It's a dance shoe and you're more comfortable. So you're not thinking about my foot is hurting. You're just feeling whatever you're feeling in the movement, right? Like that's, yes. And then you don't always, it's not like I started with this brilliant idea. It's something that absolutely evolved as I found out more of myself and found out that if I lead with love, right? I know that sounds kind of like wishy-washy maybe, but I lead with love, right? And then I find that those are the things that are right for me because I can stand behind it, even if it's not the greatest product in the beginning. I'm like, okay, great. I learned this is version 1.0. Let me come back now and do it better because I started it with love and the intention is coming from something deeper than just here's the pretty shoe, right? I come back with it evolved. Now it has a flamingo straw. You know what I mean? Now it comes in this color, whatever, because I'm listening to what people need, what they want more of. And that's another question, is like, how do you increase your market share or your audience and stuff? Is just, when you know your industry and you're already in it, it's very easy to continue to have conversations with your community. So while I have people that manage all of the social media, I myself am addicted to looking at the comments and the DMs. I just can't help but wanting to hear what people are saying, good, bad, and ugly. Like, I want to hear it all. And we openly put ourselves out there to say it too. I'm like, tell me, was this a yay or a nay? Was this a go or a no? You know, like, tell us what you want more of. What are we doing wrong? What do you want to see? How can we support you more? And we'll just listen and we'll take it and do what we can with it. And we're transparent when we can. We're like, we're not there yet, but it's something we'll consider for the future. We've literally changed part of our logo branding, because at one point it was hurtful in some communities. And think there's a lot of things that you have to be willing to, and be okay to let go with the things that don't serve you anymore. I think sometimes we want to hold on to them so badly. It could have been my best selling product 10 years ago and I want to hold on to it and stuff like that. But it's time to let it go. It doesn't serve me. I'm not there anymore. It's not me anymore. Like you said, like, I've grown since then. I can't speak about it the same way. So, and again, please remember, this is a 15-year journey. So there's a lot of coaching and therapy that you need, and I think those are crucial. Like, people don't always maybe talk about that. Like, I'm not here because I manage all this on my own. Besides my team that helps me do the business, there's a team of people that are there for me when I'm having an emotional breakdown, and I'm like, okay, and I call them, I need a therapy session, right, ASAP, right? Like, it's a lot. And I think everybody needs to have that as well. And so as you learn more about yourself and you unpack some of your traumas and your hidden, the things in those deep cavities, and some things surface, and you're like, wow, like, I didn't even know that was there. And now I know who I want to show up as today. It's different than the person I was yesterday. And everyone should have room to grow and evolve.
And I believe the business grows to the level we grow. Like, the more we develop ourselves, because you can handle bigger things. You can even handle bigger success, bigger audience, bigger sales, bigger team. Like, it's a personal development. It's a great vehicle for personal development, the business.
Oh, yeah. We talk about that imposter syndrome too, right? When you're like, because everyone's like, oh my God, where'd you go to school? And I was like, oh, I mean, I went to Boston University, but I started as a marine biologist because I just like dolphins. And then I went into just business because I was like, I don't know what I want to major in. So I had no idea about design, business, e-commerce, none of that stuff. Anyway, I graduated at a time when e-commerce wasn't even a thing. So, like, what do you do with that?
Now you wear all those hats, and that's what I love that you talk about the myth of the starving artist. Because you have a very artistic, playful, creative design part. Your business helps you express that. You are an artist, the design, from dancer to designer, and you love all the arts. Then you have the business person. Like, I come to you for tax advice, how, like, you'll see the numbers and your marketing savvy and all the business. And then it's all this activist, passionate, values driven person who you put that in the business too. It's great, all those hats you're wearing, and you move from one to the other, and you've created this Freedom First Purposeful Business, which is the name of our session. So
I love it.
I want to share to if you have any last questions, now is your moment to write them down, because we are in more than an hour, Burju. You've been sharing. You've been so generous with your time.
This is fun. I mean, I hope there was value there. I love to share. And I know I got to get better at sharing my personal, I think someone said that, like, my founder story more. That's a process too. Like, I've always been, I'm very sociable. I think, like this, like talking to another person, but I do have a little bit of a barrier when it's online to really just kind of getting up and talking. And I'm planning to do more of that this year. That's on my, like, you can do this, Burju. So, there's works in progress. Like, you're learning and growing constantly. So I hope there was value. Yeah.
So I'd like you to invite you, for the members in our community who are starting a business, what would be your words? And then we have people who are there, who've been doing it for a while, but they're wishing for this breakthrough. So I have two types of people, the people who start and the people who would love to have what you've created, the successful, purposeful business.
What would I suggest? I would say the things that help me is always staying rooted in educate, like constant learning. It's always very uncomfortable because there's always something new. Like whether you're like right now, we're migrating our e-commerce platform from BigCommerce, which is what we're on, to Shopify, right? And it's like, man, I have to learn something new again, right? We're migrating also our project management from Monday and Asana, and now we're going to Rike. Like, so there's always that level of discomfort, and it always, but like I think everything, because I love learning, I don't ever focus on what I lack as far as experience or knowledge, and I just try to stay solution oriented and focus on like, how can I learn? Okay, I don't know this yet. How do I learn it? It's kind of the same thing I try to do for my kids. I'm like, well, I got to practice what I preach, because, you know, they come home and they're like, I'm not good at soccer. And I'm like, yet. So what do we have to do to get better? You know what I'm saying? Nobody's born like Messi. You know what I mean? Like that takes practice, right? So it's just kind of like what you don't know, you just don't know it yet. You know, what the next product is going to be that's going to have your breakthrough. You don't know what it is yet. So I think I stay in like discovery mode as much as possible. And I'm always seeking people and resources, things I can read, I can watch, you know, community that I can build for myself of people like the way I made Katarina, like our talks, like for hours about, oh, you do, like you learn in that discovery mode. It just like, it opens up new ways for you. So whether you're new to this and you're just like, well, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't know what my product is. Well, maybe start by doing some hobbies. I mean, dancing was my hobby, became my career, and now I sell dance shoes. Never was that in the vision board of like 20-year-old Burju. Like she was just like, I don't know, I just want to be able to, you know, have a house someday, maybe. So that's the new person. And then the same for the person that's been around for a while. Like if you're looking for the breakthroughs as far as like, well, how do I get to the new audiences? Like maybe just like dive deeper into kind of that, the community you're serving. What are their interests? What are the things they're doing? What is that, you know, like what brought you into the business in the first place? Like, why did you even start this business? Like for me, it was dance. And for a long time, I had stopped dancing. Like after I had my kids, I stopped dancing, and I got very frustrated with my body because it lost flexibility and mobility. And so then I wouldn't go back to it because I was like, I was here and, you know, I felt like I had the standard, but it wasn't until I was willing to go back to being a student and moving again. But then it opened up all new. That's when I discovered I should do dancing heels. That's when the doors to J-Lo opened up. I mean, whether you like her or not, but you know, that kind of opportunity opened up. It was because I was like, maybe if I go back to the thing that started it all and rekindle the thing that inspired me the most, you'll just have this moment, right? And then it's funny because everyone's like, yeah, but how'd you get the money? I couldn't even really tell you because we really never had investors or capital. It was just like, well, what do we have? We'll build with what we have and we'll increase it as it grows. So I never look for overnight success.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the most sustainable way to grow. And I mean that like as far as like, because someone had asked questions about sometimes when your revenue grows, so do your costs, and the return on investment's not there. And I think that's sometimes a lot of that is because we're so anxious to like, I need to be $1 million business by this time. Mm-hmm. But if you're willing to be patient and grow step, okay, maybe it's like, you know, 100,000 this year, 250 in the next 2 years, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. And you find the ways to scale your business where you are actually also increasing profit. There's ways out there. I don't have the answers to everything, but we seek it out. We look for professionals. There's so many people. Listen, just put it out into your network and you'll be super. Does anyone know anyone that deals with this? And they're like, I do, or I have experience. And then just go down some rabbit holes. Sometimes it's good to go down a rabbit hole. You never know what pleasures at the end of it. So, but it's patience with yourself. Nobody's in a race. You can be a successful entrepreneur at 20 or at 80. It doesn't matter. And I think we need to stop that culture of racing against one another and just support one another, because if I can help one of you in your businesses through this, then I feel great about that. I'm happy about that. And then if you in turn can do that when you have your breakthroughs and you're the next guest on Katarina's, then that's something that we, you know, build brick by brick, strong foundations. Yeah.
I love it. I'll share a comment. I'll put it on the screen so that you see it. Thank you for your wonderful energy. It's radiating all over the digital space.
Oh, the hearts worked.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know how to do that.
Yeah, you just do that.
What?
See, I taught you something new.
Just something. The last 1 hour, like, this was such an incredible
If that's all you got out of it, that's good. Send more love into the world. Just put hearts on your screens.
Seriously? Wow.
I think I have to hold it a little longer, but okay. Well, thank you.
I'm learning. Growth mindset. Willing to fail publicly.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for you were remembering the questions the Miracle community submitted and touching.
I tried.
Yes, that was amazing. Yes. Thank you. This was so inspiring. I learned things. Like, we've been friends and I learned so many things. I feel energized and inspired now. It was a pleasure. Zoom.
Thank you. Always here for you as a friend, as a colleague, and thankful for the community if you stuck around and listened to the long-windedness that I can sometimes carry on. I appreciate you. I hope there was value, and we got this. We got to just keep going.
Let's
You'll
go.
find your way.
Take care, everybody.